Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
Holy shit, Bears fans. We leave for a minute. We go crazy. I have bad internet right now. Hopefully you guys can see me. They are literally working on my internet. Put in the chat if you guys can't see me. But Nate Davis, offensive guard, is signed. And new breaking news, Tremaine Edmonds is a Chicago Bear. I'm waiting on Cars to come in here and take over so they can fix my internet real good, get you guys going. But things are coming in really fast. I was not seeing them to go after Edmonds on top of TJ Edwards. But here we are. This is a guy that was very, very high on my list in 2018. I had him ranked right there back-to-back with Roquan Smith. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what they're going to be doing now. It sounds like Tremaine Edmonds is going to be the new Will Backer in the Eberflus system. They love that length. They love that athleticism. And we're going to be off to the races here. So this is going to be very interesting. I'm kind of caught off guard. I was not expecting any of this, but man, this is if you wanted a splash, this is quite the splash for the Bears. Don't overlook offensive guard Nate Davis. Cars, I know, was in on him very early. I believe Phil brought him up on keeping it 100. You just got yourself a bully on the interior of your offensive line, bringing you some attitude that's much, much needed there. So they just gave me a heads up that they're done working on my internet. So hopefully you guys see me okay. I'm trying to have everything coming in here on my phone and trying to keep. So Ryan Cox is reporting 4-72 for Tremaine Edmonds again. You're talking 5-100 for Roquan or 4-72 for Edmonds. Home run all day long. Oh, man, where do we go from here? Let me see what we got. I'm trying to keep up on this news, guys, so give me kind of hard to do this all myself. Hopefully Cars is hurrying up. Wait a minute. DDP's calling. Phil, you there? You're on live. Go ahead.
Are you serious? We got Edmonds for real?
Yeah, 4 years, $72 million.
Oh my God.
So I'm
Wow.
flying solo here right now on the show. If you're coming, I'm
You're
with.
live.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. You're live.
With the boys.
Well,
I
close.
thought we were joking around.
No. 4-72 are the numbers. All right, here's
Called it, buddy.
here's an update. It's a front-loaded 4-year, $72 million deal for Tremaine Edmonds, $50 million guaranteed.
Listen, this is a immense talent at the linebacker position. You talk about speed and length.
Oh yeah, that's what
This is what we're dealing with here, and how they choose to play Edwards and Edmonds. You've had an extreme makeover at the linebacker position, but at 6'5", it's able to flow like that, Shane.
Yeah, and it's
Those
good.
passing windows are going to be closing, just like Urlacher did for the Bears
That's
cover
what
too.
I know. I had said initially, Phil, because they had reported Edwards at middle linebacker, but I think you have to play Edmonds in the middle, and then you're putting Edwards over on the will.
That's
So
what I would do if it was me calling the defense. Because the huge Nick Morrow windows
yeah,
and Adams, these guys just couldn't get into their drops. And Edmonds is just going to close those windows. Huge.
yep.
Huge signing. I mean, you and I called this. I mean, that was our dream.
Well, it made sense. Absolutely. You know, Cars and I talked about it back. We have to look it up back this fall on Cars Keys, where it just made sense, and especially when you're talking this money where it's so different. But Phil, do your thing so you can get back, and we'll get you back on here.
All right, man. Grabbing some treats. We're supposed to get a storm for the kids. So I'll be home in a little bit.
Later. Cars. I was caught off guard literally when I had the countdown going. My phone is blowing up. Tremaine Edmonds, man.
What a day. I mean, not the way that we kind of expected it.
Did you see the front load, how it's front loaded 4 years 72? Yeah,
I did. I'm really just here to talk about Nate Davis. I mean, that's my big one. But you know what you look about Tremaine, wonderful in pass coverage, right? Yeah. He's a better pass
24 years old, Cars.
24, but he's going to be at the will. You know, he's got the length, he's got the size that they want for that ideal off the ball linebacker spot. And this is going to make really, you know, what is TJ Edwards did last year. I think between the two of them, you're talking about 20 plus pass breakups, right? Between both Edwards and Edmonds. So that's phenomenal.
They sent a message, Cars. This is just coming in from Adam Schefter. The structure of this contract makes Tremaine Edmonds the largest 4-year contract for an inside backer in NFL history.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this has never been a concern for this. This is it tells you that if the draft were reheld, that most likely Poles would have drafted Edmonds instead of Roquan. Right?
Yeah, length and explosion and Cars. You know, one of the things that we talked about, and when you're talking about ball production, people think that it's forced fumbles and just interceptions. It's not. It's pass deflections. When you look at
that's more important.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. Turnovers are more important, but I think that massively undersells the importance of getting your hands in passing lanes, tipped balls, creating turnovers sometimes for others. When you make a quarterback pause and freak out about potentially whether the window's there and where you are in that window, that just adds things to that. And so when you look at that combination of Edmonds, then Edwards, and Brisker, and an healthy Eddie Jackson, an upcoming Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, like pass defense is going to be extremely important.
Right.
And so that's a phenomenal move. I'm super happy.
One that I wasn't expecting, the Okereke smoke proved to be just that. You know, you wonder how that's going to play out there for him, and good luck to him. But Cars, you know, we
3 years, 30 for Nate Davis. So 3 years, 30 million for him.
Yeah, I mean, so you're the king of the hill, Cars. I mean, with the with the, you know, it's all about value. When you attack free agency, you can't deny the talent of Javon Hargrave. It's there. Everybody sees it. 30 years old. Odds are he's got a couple of top end years left in him, but you don't know. You hit that mark with top of the market money. It's you just don't know, man. And this is what I'm saying. If you're going to be spending money, to me, you're spending money on guys that are young, that still have room for upside, and it just lessens the blow a little bit. Tremaine Edmonds is 24 years old. He's been in the league for 5 seasons already. It's unbelievable.
Well, and let's just use Khalil Mack as an example of why that 30 thing hits. You know, as 29, he still puts out a great year. Last year is his 30 year, right? Injuries hit him. He was having a pretty good year. And then if you look at the numbers, it looks like he had a great year with the Chargers at 31, except of his 8 sacks, 4 of those came in the first 2 weeks, and he completely kind of fell off, and that's why he got an undo. The hardest part for these defensive linemen really is, this isn't like a quarterback where you're going to play until you're 44, right? This is the other person you want to look at, like Akeem Hicks, right? And where he was when all of this happens. When you're a defensive lineman and you hit a certain age, which is 30, you start to get more injury prone and your production falls off. That's just what happens. And so as much as I love Hargrave and would not have complained at all if we got him and would understand the fit, you're absolutely right. At 30 and that dollar amount, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit the overall a blueprint. But speak on your guy Nate Davis a little bit, Cards, because I think, listen, when there's splash signings, Nate Davis, I don't think we'd put him under that label of splash, but this is going to be one of those signings that when the season starts, people are going to be, I'm very glad we got Nate Davis. And like I said, on the interior of your line, you want these guys that are bullies. Now you have 2 of them. You have Tevin Jenkins. You have Nate Davis on the interior of your line, depending on what happens at center. Got a couple of backyard bullies there. So talk on him a little bit.
Listen, Nate Davis has started off his rookie year, did not start well, but he's really improved year after year. He is a monster in the zone block run game. He is physical. He will dominate. He's one of those guys that, much like Tevin, likes to get guys on the ground and physically hurt them. I think he was misplaced a little bit in the passing game in Tennessee. Tennessee's had a very massive issue for 2 to 3 years, ever since Arthur Smith left, in marrying up the pass game and the run game. Yeah. So Edmonds, who kind of a little bit like McGlinchey, his passing numbers and rankings are off, but he's still young and up and coming. It's a skill set that I think can definitely work. So Nate's a guy that you want to see out in space, much like Tevin, right? You want to get him out and hitting second level guys. I think when you look at the athleticism, look at how we used Braxton Jones as almost a pulling tight end on certain run plays. Now you're going to be able, with 3 of the guys on the line right now, to be able to just pull, move, and get guys to second level. He's a great fit. I can't wait to see how they leverage him. I don't know what this means for Cody Whitehair. That is the biggest question mark, because Nate Davis has been a right guard all of his career. So either he or Tevin has got to move left. What does that do to Cody Whitehair? I would not be shocked to see if Cody Whitehair gets moved to free up cap space for somebody else. But to Nate, just go watch. He is physical. He is just a mauler at the guard position with great athleticism. So I'm over the hill happy with this.
Yeah, and one of the first tweets coming out from the Tremaine Edmonds deal is from new Bears wide receiver DJ Moore, my guy, Tremaine in Chicago. So
it's really fun to see. Again, McGlinchey was older, right? All of these guys that are coming in are 25, 26. You and I talked a lot about this at Cars Keys, that it wasn't just going to be spending money, but everything is about meeting the timelines. The Bears understand that they are 2 to 3 years away, so they are building that the right way. Go ahead.
Here's Rap Sheet.
The Chicago Bears and new general manager Ryan Poles are making some significant noise today. Sources say they are signing Tremaine Edmonds, the star linebacker formerly of the Buffalo Bills, to a massive deal. He gets 4 years, $72 million with Chicago, $50 million guaranteed, which is 69% of its overall value, the largest 4-year contract for an inside linebacker in the NFL. This deal negotiated by Todd France of Athletes First and the Chicago Bears. Really, look at what they've done over the course of the past couple of days. They have made sure, one, they have weapons and talent around Justin Fields on offense, Nate Davis, and, of course, DJ Moore, and they have big-time power and speed on defense. Tremaine Edmonds, one of the young rising stars of the NFL, he lands in Chicago.
And hey, I got to give credit to Marcus Mosher. He just sent a great tweet. So would you rather be paying Roquan Smith $20 million a year or TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds with an additional second-round pick, 24.5?
Yeah, exactly. And for all of the people that were bashing Ryan Poles, Cars, for the first time in my recent memory with this team, the Bears have a forward thinker. They have a poker player that knows what he has in hands, and he's 12 steps ahead of you down the line. This is an epic fuck you to Roquan Smith in the way that those negotiations were handled, to me. And
oh, absolutely.
Do your thing in Baltimore, and good luck, Roquan. I didn't expect, if I told you that we were going to come out the gates with TJ Edwards, Nate Davis, I think you would have agreed, yes. But if I told you that 2 of our first 3 signings were going to be linebackers, even though it's a need, I don't think anybody would have bought that.
And in this, I completely agree. And I think, Shane, the other thing we have to kind of talk about is when you look at Tremaine's numbers, his pass defense is very good, but they may not pop off. But he's been playing a middle linebacker position in a defense where his roles and responsibilities are not going to be the same as they are here in Chicago. We're playing a middle linebacker in that defense. He's got more kind of stay-home responsibilities, where here coming to Chicago on the weak side, he is going to be flexed. He is going to be a focus of what this defense is doing. So I think you really have to look at, don't necessarily look at just where his numbers are today. Understand that he was filling a role. Yep. Now he is coming to be like Shaq Leonard. You're going to see him rush the passer more. You're going to see him kind of get isolated and give different looks. Everything that we wanted Roquan to do that he did not have the size to do, Tremaine Edmonds has that size. This is the ideal guy body-wise for what Flus & Co. wants to do at weak side backer. And so this is a massive, massive win for us.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if that's going to go. Yeah, these aren't coming out very good, so won't waste our time with that. But Cars, I saw one of the comments. Do you think that this means that maybe the Bears are considering a move for Tevin Jenkins back outside?
So I don't. The cynic in me still wonders where their feelings are on Tevin's head, right? That is still first and foremost. So no, I don't think they do. I think we started to say it earlier, but my take right now is we are either going to get a tackle or Draymond Jones. And whichever one we get, we're going to draft the other position. And the way that the draft is scheduled, with most likely 4 quarterbacks going in the top 5, right? You're going to be sitting at a part where you're going to look at Jalen Carter, Lucas Van Ness. You're going to look at some of these guys, Paris Johnson, all of these others.
Yeah.
So the draft where it is strongest is at defensive line and offensive line. I want everybody to pause and re-listen to that. Where the draft is deepest is at offensive line and defensive line. So not getting a tackle today isn't great, but it doesn't mean we aren't going to be better at the position. And so when I look at this, I also put in, we weren't looking at Jawan Taylor. I think we do have to put some work that the Bears really are big believers in Braxton Jones, and they just got to figure out the other part.
Yeah, Mike Silver has started what I think we're probably going to see from some people, and that's fine. He's tweeted out, "Wouldn't it have been smarter to, I don't know, just pay Roquan Smith?" Which,
No.
under the circumstances, no, it would have been GM malpractice to sign Roquan Smith under the circumstances of what you just pulled off right here.
And I want to show this comment. We don't know yet because we don't know what the deals are. But I also wouldn't freak out about it. We talked about it earlier. The Bears can cut Cody Whitehair, save $6 million. The Bears can restructure some of the deal for DJ Moore and free up additional money. So after the TJ Edwards deal, the Bears roughly had about $70 million in cap space. So if you look off, maybe they've done an additional $30 million in cap right now. So you've got about $40 million in cap left to play with.
I'm just sorry. I'm phones.
No, there's a lot of weird, a lot of people are eating at the Bears right now for paying off the ball linebackers. I get it. But I think when you look at the way that it is, I don't really freak out. Twitter's melting down, and really the only two guys that the Bears we knew were in on or had interest in that have signed have been Hargrave and McGlinchey. That's it. So I'm not going to sit here and panic about it. Frank Clark is still out there. Draymond Jones still hasn't signed. There's a lot of additional people out there. Sorry, my dog's all excited because someone dared walk through. So no, this isn't the end. We're 4 hours into free agency, and people are like, "Oh, the Bears have screwed it up." Just sit down and shut up, and we'll get there.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, guys, listen. The best way to attack guys on social media like this, like Peter Bukowski is saying, so the Bears traded away Roquan Smith to pay top dollar for two linebackers that aren't as good. This is chess, not checkers. Don't even reply to it. Don't retweet it. Don't try to be witty. They let them, wallow in Jordan Love land where they're going to be very, very soon. Don't instigate them. Leave it alone. As tough as it is, I usually have a hard time with that too. I get it. Just let it go. Let him have. He's 24 years old. And he's a high upside linebacker, and I have no problem. He's going to be playing the most important position that the Bears, one of the most important positions in this defense.
Well, let's just put it fully out there. Bukowski knows bukkake about football overall. He has no idea about the defense and what it means. You're about to be staring at Jordan Love throwing to Christian Watson and the Green Bay High School wide receiver core because they don't have it. They're not getting a first-round pick for Aaron Rodgers or multiple. I would be shocked if they got a first-round pick. So I'm not really going to sit here and worry about their takes. Nagler and Bukowski know Packers football. They don't know football. And so it drives me absolutely batty when they keep doing this. This is an important thing. If you know this defense, Shane, to your point, that is the premier position outside of 3-tech.
Yep.
So, you spend on that where it makes sense.
Do you think they're done today, Cars?
No. I mean, I think they're constantly in negotiations. I think that this is because here's the weird part, Shane. If they go out, and I still think the Bears are in the market for another guard. I still think Isaac from the Eagles is on par, and I think that because I don't.
So somebody's head's going to explode. That's what you're telling me.
So. I think so because I think they're still worried about the neck injury. I think they'll still worried about some of the mental stuff. So I think the Bears are going to be in a position where they're not going to necessarily count on him to be there. So I think there's another move to be made. I think they'll kick the tires on Orlando Brown. I think the biggest issue for Orlando Brown, and you've seen some of the other numbers, Orlando Brown has struggled and is living off of name only. And I think he has these games. He played great in the Super Bowl, but I think the Bears really vision the future of Braxton Jones at left tackle and would want Orlando Brown to play right tackle. But everything we've heard is ever since he did that stint covering for Ronnie Stanley, that he wants to play left tackle. And I don't think that that's necessarily the case. And so you'll watch that. I think Caleb McGarry is another name that's still out there that makes some sense. I'm not a super huge fan, but he's an upgrade. So I don't really sit down and worry about any of that. I think there's still probably 2 to 3 more moves to be made today, with like the last one, Shane, probably coming at like 10, 11 o'clock at night here to go.
So I think a take that we have to talk about that I kind of just brought up with you, Olin alluded to it. James Big Cat Williams, who's on Olin's show, talked about it. They felt that it was critical because of Tevin and his back and his neck, that he's going to get beat up a lot more inside. So to them, it made much more sense to move him outside, where it's, you're not fighting inside of that phone booth where everything is going to be twice as fast. So this is what makes me wonder. So is there potential for this to be Braxton Jones, Nate Davis, question mark, Siamolu, and Jenkins on your offensive line? I guess you would have.
There is a way.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I think the biggest concern anytime you deal with an offensive lineman is neck and back injuries, right? Like those tend to be the death knell. So when you already have questions about whether or not he's ever fully invested or whatever it is,
right?
I think there is a way that he could do it. I know there's a way that he could fit. I always take the anti-Phil stance, but I think there's a very good chance that it's just they cannot rely on Tevin, because Nate Davis has never played anything other than right guard in the pro. There's nothing right now that shows that he's a left guard. So I think
that's what I meant. I didn't mean.
I know. But what I'm saying is that is Tevin's position that they just signed a guy.
Yeah.
So they're either moving him outside or
he's in trouble.
They are just they're worried about his longevity with this team.
Yeah. This just came in from Albert Breer. Dustin Reagan-Padilla shared it with us. The reality: Tremaine Edmonds and Roquan Smith are both very good players. One fits Matt Eberflus's mold for linebackers perfectly, and the other one doesn't, which is precisely why the Bears traded one and signed the other away from another team. So that is your mic drop moment, Bears fans, when you're dealing with people, like we said, like Peter Bukowski or Mike Silver, that are poo-pooing this move. It's all about fit. It's 100% all about fit.
And again, that's knowing football. That's knowing the differences between the defenses of what these guys run and what they expect. Yep. You look at what Buffalo was doing. They've loaded up that defensive line, right? That has been their way. And so they want linebackers to clean up. Here, they're going to put Edmonds in a position to go make splash plays. That's going to be the difference. And yes, we absolutely look, guys. I know I keep seeing in the chats, I keep seeing all over Twitter. I know we need defensive line help. I know we need offensive line help. There's a lot of guys coming. There's still free agents. Not a lot of guys have signed yet. Stop freaking out. We will get there. It's going to get there. We're 4.5 hours into free agency. The world hasn't ended. It's okay.
So this is from Joe Marino, who works for the Draft Network, who is a massive Buffalo Bills fan away from work. Edmonds is going to be awesome with Eberflus. Massive loss for the Buffalo Bills. Edmonds was critical in the middle of the field for coverage with the way that Buffalo runs their system. So that's what you're getting. Just going through here. Yeah, go ahead, Carson.
It's when you start talking about pass defense today, you gotta start thinking about. We've been talking a little bit about intermediate places with DJ Moore and where these passes go. And what you now have is two linebackers who have been very good at getting into those spots in zone coverage, right? To take away, to fill in passing lanes. I don't think we can understate that enough. So yes, understanding we haven't fixed the pass rush. We weren't going to in day one. Understanding we haven't fixed the offensive line. We've made improvements, right? A small one to start, but it'll keep getting better. But we are a better football team than we were 4.5 hours ago. We are a better football team than we were when we stepped off the field after week 17. These things aren't. Poles is not in a rush. He's not going to meet necessarily your timeline. He wants to build this the right way. And I think we are seeing time and time again the traits that these guys value and what they want to do.
Cars, think about the other side of this, talking about Ryan Poles and him looking forward. You have all of this money so you can make essentially whatever moves that you want. You and I talked about this repeatedly, and I know I'm repeating myself here with it.
It's fun to repeat. It's good.
You attack free agency, obviously, but you want to get guys that are young, still have upside. If we sat here and went live and broke down the signings of Javon Hargrave and Mike McGlinchey, Bears fans love the big names. They'd be excited. Neither one of them fit the blueprint of how you really want to attack free agency overall. At all.
No.
And you're going to be Mike McGlinchey's the highest paid, right? Or what, top 5 highest?
He is the number 5 highest right tackle.
Yeah. And then
Jawan Taylor is, as much as I loved him as a pass blocker, he's last year the second worst run blocker at the tackle position in the NFL.
So you look at the moves that he's made since Friday. He traded for a 25-year-old DJ Moore.
Yep.
He signed a 25-year-old Will Backer in Tremaine Edmonds, a 26-year-old left guard in Nate Davis, and 20, is he still 26, I believe, TJ Edwards?
Yes.
26-year-old linebacker in TJ Edwards. When you hear Rich Eisen say that he handled the trade talks, like I don't know if he said if it was a maestro, I think was the word that he used. I'm putting the same label the way that he's handling free agency so far. Yes, I want to see another offensive lineman brought in. We have a massive hole at 3 tech. We understand that. But if you're telling me that this is the way that we started 4.5 hours into free agency and back it up to last Friday, this is what we've come away with, I don't understand how anybody can be upset with it.
And it's funny because the most people that I see crying the most have been the ones being like, oh, you can't play McGlinchey. And then all of a sudden, now that he's gone, they're like, oh, God, now what are we going to do? Right? There's a right way to build this. And it sucks because we all, as Bear fans, have a different timeline than Ryan Poles does. Because we have been suffering this century as a pretty bad football team, especially since 2010. We've been a pretty bad football team. So as fans, we have a win now timeline. Ryan Poles has a win consistently for a long period of timeline. And so I think that's the biggest difference that we see how they're attacking. And again, if you look and say, we are a better football team than we were 5 days ago, and it's not even close.
We have some
That's
more breaking news.
Breaking news. The tape never lies. Network breaking news.
There he is, home from Target. He just signed a DDP to a 3-year deal.
3 years.
Yes,
I'm committed.
But Phil, we've we've talked about it. Probably some of it you won't like because there's a lot of, I'm wondering if, well, you'll like this part, but he won't be in the position that you seemingly want. But if we go to Nate Davis, has played left guard his entire career.
Right guard.
Or right guard. I keep on screwing that. Played right guard his entire career. Is Tevin Jenkins back on the move outside to be your right tackle?
Listen, McGlinchey or my guy Tevin Jenkins, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not close to me. I couldn't believe they put him in at guard. Obviously, it's pro. It's a business. They got to do what's necessary. I've always said this guy's a tackle, whether you want to put him at right or left. It just makes a lot of sense. Nate Davis, I mean, I don't remember. Once I knew Steckel was coming, you could fill in the dots. That's a huge get here. A starting offensive guard with experience blocking in this zone scheme. Obviously, Derrick Henry in what it is that you want to do offensively. The first piece of the puzzle of the offensive line, interior wise, the Bears making this kind of move, I believe it does push Tevin Jenkins outside. I've never been shy from saying all those people are, he's doing good at guard. Leave him. You don't get it. It's like work him outside, then in. I loved what I saw in him. So this is exciting. This is what you're doing. And Tremaine Edmonds, I mean, you know how Shane felt about him during that draft season. I will tell you, just in this scheme, like I said on the phone with you, you can put this guy at Mike linebacker, and now you're closing all of these passing windows for opponents because he's 6'5" and can get to that seam curl depth that you want your linebacker to go to.
He's not going to be in the middle. This is your weak side.
So you think they're going to put him at weak?
Yeah, because TJ Edwards is only an inside. He's the guy that's the ideal side. He's going to be weak side. He's going to be your guy at weak side.
I'll wait to see what they do. I think it makes a lot of sense either way, because they're both going to be on the field. Edmonds is a length athlete. There's no question. At the end of the day, if you had put a gun to my head and said, who would you rather pay, Roquan Smith or Tremaine Edmonds? I would have said Tremaine Edmonds all day.
And
that's the truth.
Share that with Phil, the three players plus the second and fifth rounder you got for Roquan.
So, Phil, you could either pay Roquan Smith $20 million a year, or you can pay TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds $24.5 with a second round pick thrown in.
Exactly.
And to go back, when you look at, so to your point, Tremaine Edmonds is a 6'5" dude, right? Long arms, crazy. That fits more along the lines with Shaq Leonard, who was 6'3" at the weak side backer size. TJ Edwards is a 6'1" guy. Both of those were really good at filling the passing lanes last year. But that's why I look at TJ has the size more that they look for the inside guy. That's what Okereke was, a few others. Edmonds has that piece, but I think he's going to be kind of like a Joker type player where they're going to put him all over the place and let him shine, that he really didn't get as much of an opportunity in Buffalo to do.
So one other update, some of the numbers are starting to trickle in on the Nate Davis deal. 3 years, $30 million with 19.25 guaranteed. So one of the deals, Phil, it was 4 years, $72 million for Tremaine Edmonds with $50 million guaranteed. So what did they say? 69% of it guaranteed. So
Tremaine Edmonds, I'm going to go on the record. I believe they're going to play him like Urlacher at the mic and put that 6'5" frame to get those curls out of there. But again, there's so much nickel. Wherever they line this kid up, I saw someone tell me that he ran a 4.8. Tremaine Edmonds was a 4.5 guy, I believe, if I remember correctly. There was no way I would have that guy that high coming out of Virginia Tech. I just remember I even projected that you could line him up like Rosie Colvin and rush the passer on some occasion. That's how talented this kid is. Bears love their linebackers, man.
Edmonds RAS was a 9.74. He ran a 4.54 at the combine at 6'4" and 253. His 10-yard split was 1.6 seconds, right? So you're talking about a very large man, and he's got 34.5-inch arms, right? So when you're talking about a guy with the measurables that they've been looking for, that is who he is. And he's a freak at 24, right? Like at 24, 25 years old, 5 years, and you could still say that his best football is ahead of him. That's just insane. Right? That is insane.
No doubt.
Yeah, he's going to be cashing
face of the franchise on defense based on that contract. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, 100%. He's your foundational piece all day long.
Without a doubt.
Over there.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So he turns 25 in May. So you got 25, 26, 27, and he's going to be hitting the open market again at 28 years old. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Listen,
we drafted a kid last year. We drafted a kid last year that's older than this guy, and he's been in the league for 5 years.
Listen, you basically bought 2 linebackers for the price that you would pay Roquan Smith.
Not even basically. And a second round. So you got a second,
and you got to add that second round, exactly, and a 5th. I forgot about that. But I want to say this about Tremaine Edmonds, and I can't wait to cut the tape to show you, because I'm not going to say Cars is wrong or whatever. This is what I would do, is put him at Mike in this kind of scheme. Base front, he'd be my Mike. Now in the nickel, the things that you could do, just like you said, a jack of all trades. Tremaine Edmonds is filthy in covering ground and distance. You heard Eberflus continuously saying length and speed. Well, basically, me and Shane, I just remember. Does that not fit Edmonds? I mean,
well, this is the thing.
Jesus.
We had this conversation this morning when you're out there and you're talking about length and athleticism and explosion and ball production. Cars, you probably have the numbers. You and I were talking about it a bit yesterday. Roquan, since 2018, I think has 23 pass deflections. Tremaine Edmonds is up at like 32 or 34. When you're talking about ball production, it's not just takeaways. It's not just forced fumbles. It's not just interceptions. A pass deflect. You don't think a pass deflect. How many times did you watch 3rd and 12 and the Bears get beat down the fucking middle for 15?
On the deep in cut. That's where Tremaine and Edwards get back into depth. Listen, we identified it over and over on the tape. Obviously, the defensive line obviously needs some work, and I'm sure they're not out of any running for any player. But if you are going to look at what McGlinchey got, and then you're going to look at some of the investments that are going on with the kid from the Falcons on Amani, and what's
Jesse
his name?
Bates just got big money from the Falcons, so I don't know what they're doing.
Almost 40 million. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what they're doing. So McGarry is still clearly in play too. Not a massive upgrade, but still an upgrade nonetheless. Sorry, but it's
at right tackle. Yeah.
At right tackle. Yeah, it's a weird. This has been a weird free agency so far, I would say. Like, for who's gotten signed and the money as to where it's gone.
So the Detroit Lions just signed Alex Anzalone to a 3-year deal for $18.75 million. That's what you got. I mean, Edwards is 19.5. I don't have the
And listen,
guarantees.
Anzalone's a good football player.
Oh,
but
no,
the
I
actual
agree, but
measurables, like if they were in play for me, and you came to me, Phil, Anzalone or Edmonds, I'm gonna pick Edmonds because of the length, the speed, the instincts, the tenacity. He has the length over Anzalone.
Pittsburgh Steelers
But I'm
just
not going to
signed Patrick
short shot
Peterson.
on Anzalone's a good football player. And I wouldn't have been upset if the Bears had signed him, but he was one of the guys I had in my list of players I like the Bears to sign. I'm looking for dogs. Tremaine Edmonds was at the top of the list of linebackers. So when Shane texted me I'm on the way to Target, I'm like, are you serious? Bills linebacker? Because I didn't know if there was like another Edmonds we're talking about.
And Phil,
Chase
this is really interesting. Fishbane just tweeted this about from Joe Biscaglia, but he says on Tremaine Edmonds represents everything teams covet at linebacker in today's NFL: sideline to sideline ability, excellent coverage skills, and effective blitzing. There isn't a play call where Edmonds is a liability.
Just for the truth there. If I had to rank linebackers, I mean, I put him at the top of the free agent pool. So you got the top wide receiver and you got the top middle linebacker or weak side linebacker, wherever they're going to play him. Edmonds reminds me a lot of Urlacher. I said it when he was coming out. I'll say it again. I know Shane loved his game. We took a lot of heat in regards to that. I even talked about lining him up on the edge in third down situations because he's got the talent to do that. But listen, the Bears got him, and Eberflus has the opportunity to use him where he is. I'm telling you right now, you just upgraded your linebacker core tenfold. And Sanborn, as we said earlier in the show, just like we said with Braxton, nobody deters you from signing and getting better. Sanborn decides how he's going to play come spring in the OTAs and mini camps and so on and so forth. I mean, this is why I was eyeing the linebacker from Iowa in the draft because of the length, Campbell, because of this kind of length. Tremaine Edmonds has years in the league. It is a proven commodity. It's going to do certain things. Now you've made a weakness, maybe one of your worst weaknesses, a strength.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's another. Phil has been saying, I don't believe in polls until he proves it. Well, he got out there, moved down, isolated on DJ Moore. That's a win. Today, he's isolating on listening to his coach, who's a defensive guy, and said, hey, we got to build this linebacker unit. And let me tell you, let's go back real quick, Shane. Christian Jones. I'm trying to remember those linebackers. Shea McClellan, Christian Jones. Oh, my God. And I can't remember. Lars, you were there. Bro, we were watching tape, and they were stepping the wrong way. They couldn't. And what happened? Once you improve there, all of a sudden you're a competitive defensive football team. If you don't think it matters, and by the way, we know there's Mike, Sam, and Will. I saw some guy. There's 3 linebackers, Mike, Sam, and Will. No kidding. But when you're playing in the NFL and 70, I'm going probably under 72% of the time you're a nickel, you're going to have 2 linebackers on the field. So the Sam linebacker takes a back seat to your nickel corner, which is a priority position for the Chicago Bears too, and how they handle that. But I'm sorry, Tremaine Edmonds and Edwards, you got the double E's in the linebacker unit.
I can't wait for Chicago sports radio and the way that fans start to mix those names up combined. You know, like it's going to be that Edwardsman's guy that and be like, which one?
Bring back the
Both?
coach.
Listen, this is fun, and I think, Phil, one of the things we've been talking about, and I think you would agree with, is if let's just say they go sign Draymond Jones, then I think what they do at 9 is draft an offensive tackle. If they sign Orlando Brown at 9, they're going to draft a defensive lineman. They are set with the way that the draft is falling, where it looks like 4 of the quarterbacks are going in the top 5, that they're going to have their choice of a lot of different players there to fill whatever hole they don't do. So as long as they're adding guards and centers and improving that part of the line, I'm not going to worry. If they had done, I'm more worried about the defensive line because they've done nothing there, but they are making moves to improve, that they maintain that flexibility, and they're still in a prime position in the draft to fill whichever need they don't get here.
Yes, I mean, here is my checklist of what the Bears needed to do. Obviously, tackle.
Real quick, Phil,
offensive tackle
Browns
first.
The Browns just signed a defensive lineman, not the one that we're waiting to hear word on, but they just signed free agent pass rusher Agbo Okoronkwo to a 3-year, $19 million deal, who was a guy that was actually he was involved with quite a few people in free agency. $19 million deal, max value $22 million, $12.5 million guaranteed. And word is that the Bears are still engaged with Draymond.
Listen, if today I hear the Bears got a guy from Detroit, a free agent from Detroit, under the radar guy, he'll probably be in the next couple of days signing when free agency starts. But I'm a big fan of that guy, Kaminsky, Detroit. Nate Davis was a guy I circled as I saw the tea leaves when Steckel came here. You guys saw it on Keep It at 100. I just think you're improving there. Young player. I remember him coming out of Charlotte, and I think they took him in the second or third round. Third round, and I just felt like this kid can move the line of scrimmage. I liked what he brought to the table. Here he comes to the Bears, and you're getting a starter quality, younger player. What is he, 25 as well?
Yes, he's about to be 26, or he is 26, yeah.
So young player, now you're filling the interior of the offensive line. My goal was to get the offensive tackle. Obviously, Orlando Brown's still out there. If you're just tuning in, we went live earlier today and confessed our football sins of what it is we did and didn't want. We're just not meatballers that are going to flop and flip-flop. I was very concerned about McGlinchey being this big contract. Cars hit it out of the park saying you give this kind of guy a 3-year deal, then you're more comfortable with it with a 1-year out, because maybe he comes in here, he becomes a building block. But the tendency with him is he's kind of soft and occasionally misses assignments, gets pushed around a little bit too much for my feelings on the right side. And if you were going to invest in him, then you were taking a big chance on great. He just gave me that Mike Glennon feel. Well, the Bears got out of that. It was a 5-year deal.
49ers coaches have said that he's kind of a mental midget in some of it. There have been multiple different quotes where, like, McGlinchey was his own worst enemy, and that sort of thing is concerning.
He went to Notre Dame. That's all I need to know.
Get Zorich on the show.
Maybe we could have moved him to mid. Maybe we could have moved him
Ivan's
to middle
like,
linebacker.
motherfucker, I get here. Perfect timing.
Ryan Cox is right on the point of exactly. You're getting to the second level with Davis. You've seen him do it. I've seen him do it immensely on tape. If you're not a patron, you're going to want to sign up. Nate Davis. We're going to break down Nate. We're going to break down Tremaine Edmonds. Where will the Bears play him? I'm sure that's a good problem to have as a defensive coordinator or linebacker. Where are we going to play this guy at 6'5", runs a 4.5, and has a 1?
And not in the sense that he doesn't have a position. It's just that he could be really good at 2 different positions. So which one do we want him to be really good at?
Well, just think, as Shane brought up, I mean, every time I'm sitting in the stadium, sitting next to you, Cars against the Lions, and I'm like, here we go, 3rd and 11. Hey, you might want to cover the deep in cut. And it just fucking destroys you every time because you're not a very good defensive line up front, but at least in the back end, get to your assigned drop and make a play. Morrow, for everything I thought Morrow was going to bring to the table, he was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, disappointments of 2022, arguably. Here, you've upgraded immensely, just in size and length, speed alone. You're getting a huge upgrade in a guy that's a competitor. He's a competitor here. And same with Edwards. Here's a guy that played linebacker with the Philadelphia Eagles on the doorstep of a freaking Super Bowl championship. Former Wisconsin teammate of Jack Sanborn and a Bears fan that comes with that kind of pride we talked about earlier. You got to be excited about the rebuild here.
And it's young. Like we keep emphasizing it, but this is a team that is not building to win now. They're building something to be able to win consistently in the future. So I am really looking forward to this. You know, we're almost 5 hours now into free agency. So, you know, everything is moving along. I cannot wait to see. I think we still got 2 to 3 more moves today. And we'll get a great sense of what's going on. And please don't start crying yet. Otherwise, if you're freaking out, you can go check out the Brawl Network's coverage of the free agency. They'll calm you down, no problems.
Yeah, Scamper, you don't get draft picks for free agent signings. When we were talking about that, you have to look at the complete package. When you traded Roquan Smith, you got a 2nd and a 5th rounder. And with the money that Roquan Smith got paid from Baltimore, it's $4 million less than you're paying Edwards and Edmonds to be your linebackers. So if you take that complete package of the 2nd and the 5th, and those 2 linebackers that we signed today, or would you rather have Roquan Smith? It's not even in the fucking ballpark of even a consideration.
And I cannot wait for the folks that complain about Roquan and just to line up the way that they look at the end of this season, because it's not even a worry or a concern in my mind. Roquan is a better fit for the scheme that they run in Baltimore, and Edmonds is a much better fit for what we want to do schematically here. That's the way I will always view it, and it's good.
Huge signing for the Chicago Bears. If you're just tuning in, I don't know if Caden Whitlow's been updating the graphics. You're on a different level, but I know we got this guy first out the gate, TJ Edwards, 3 years, $19.5 million. I've gotten about 8 texts from several Philadelphia Eagle fans that are very upset that we stole this guy with that contract. They really liked that football player. And I'll just tell you, Tremaine is going to do things on the football field freakish like Urlacher. I'll say this again. I've never, ever hidden my truth about Roquan Smith. He didn't move the needle for me in game-changing plays. He just didn't do it. Good player. Wasn't an elite level player that he wanted to be paid at. He doesn't change the course of the game. And to Cars, I agree with you. He's probably a better fit there than he is here. But this kid, Tremaine Edmonds, I believe, is a game-changing linebacker. Yes. His ability to get after the quarterback in blitz game. I mean, just think, 6'5" coming at you. And that was one of Roquan's strengths, is his blitz. This guy can do the same thing at 6'5".
Yeah, we didn't feel like they did it enough with Roquan. It seemed like whenever they did blitz him, he got home.
He did. And Tremaine can get to depth just on size alone in the drops. And when you're going into cover 2 and you're a quarterback, say you're Kirk Cousins now, and First, you had a 6-foot linebacker at 250 pounds dropping back. You can dab that ball right over his reach. But now you got a 6'5" guy dropping in that zone. You're going away from all of a sudden. Wait a second, Jalen Johnson needs to cover Jefferson. Well, it's a team game. So when that guy's making that in cut or the skinny post and Edmonds is there with 34.5-inch arms, as well as 6'4.5" or 6'5", you've created coverage lanes that are impossible to throw to. You're creating turnovers that way. Even if he gets a tip on it, guess who's really good at going for the Oski? That would be Eddie Jackson. He lived off that. So this is a brilliant move with a GM talking to a coach saying, hey, this is what we need to do best. And I'll tell you, I know we talked about it way back near the end of the season when Tremaine Edmonds was brought up as a free agent. That's got to be a must-have. So I got two guys that I felt like is a must-have, and that was DJ Moore in a trade and Tremaine Edmonds. You got him here. Now if they can get Orlando Brown, I'm going to be ecstatic here with what they've done, because Nate Davis, to me, was just connecting the dots on a good football player with a good coach that's coming in. And to your point, Jack Campbell was a guy I was identifying in the draft. Now Jack Campbell will be playing somewhere else because you got that in a proven commodity.
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to actually be able to sign Edmonds. I thought he would end up either staying or going somewhere else. He's exactly what Phil was saying, man. He's everything that they were looking at in that weak side position. So it's like, for me, just keep the pedal to the metal. Just don't make any dumb decisions. Ryan's been knocking this out of the park. To be honest, knocking it out of the park. I love the Davis signing. Think about where he came from in Tennessee. They like to run the ball. They like to get after it. I like to see what he has once we get some tape on there on our Patreon side. But I'm very excited about these signings. Tremaine is just the cherry on top as of right now, because I just didn't think he was going to be available for us.
And just to put into reference,
real quick, Phil, one of your guys, Jamel Dean, back to Tampa.
Well, he obviously is dying to go play with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to this is one of Shane's favorite things to always do, but when you go back and look at it, for the person who just put up Jack Campbell, who I do love, Tremaine Edmonds is 2 years younger than Jack Campbell and has 5 years experience in the NFL. That's just insane.
And if you don't think that matters,
that's insanity.
If you don't think that
20, he'll be 23 in August. So he is literally in May, God. Edmonds turns 25.
Well, that's the thing. So just to take it off of Bears players, Lamar Jackson is 26 years old. He got drafted in 2018. He's been MVP of the league. Stetson Bennett is coming into the league as a 25-year-old rookie, a year younger. They were in the same recruiting class.
It's
both of those, and it's hard to fathom. But Tremaine Edmonds, when you're sitting down and you're going and you have money to spend that you have to spend, let's not forget that part of it. The Bears have a cash floor that they have to meet. It's precisely why this was front loaded, and he's going to be getting his year one number. I'm sure is going to be monstrous, but it's precisely what you do when you're sitting down and you're breaking these guys down. If you have a guy that's at a position of need, you have money to spend, and you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, and he's 24.
That part to me, I did not know he's that young. Especially when you put that into perspective with Campbell. Because listen, I'm not even going to lie to you. Those Iowa fucking players,
I love them.
Very highly ranked on my board. As you need to become a patron to see some of the tape of these guys. Campbell was a guy I felt like that's a guy you got to get because of his length and his athleticism for your defense and what it is you want to be philosophically. And I'll just let you know,
So Indianapolis
Urlacher is
Colts
the comp for me.
cornerback, Indianapolis
Yeah.
Colts cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, on witnessing the Bears' moves today. Flus era going crazy right now.
Iowa.
This is crazy. Yeah, this is so crazy.
That has Joe going.
Joe. I met Joe at the tailgate.
Somebody yell out bingo.
If you were on screen, we'd have to do a
19.
hand check right now. That'd be a little concerning. but-
Yeah. So 4 years, $52 million for Dean, and go back to Tampa.
Wow, that's so the two biggest takeaways right now. The tackle market is accelerating. The interior offensive line is accelerating, and everywhere else is seemingly decelerating. You look at
not one wide receiver has signed. Not one.
The wide receivers is a dry market. The center market has been really bad. You look at a lot of these other positions right now, the focus on the NFL seems to be a lot. It used to be tackles. Now it's tackles and guards and interior defensive linemen. So that's probably been my biggest takeaway, because Dean walking out at 4 for 52. So you're talking 13 a season. That's a massive win for the Bucks at that dollar amount for what he can do. Yeah. That is a massive win.
Goal is to get better in the off season, so you can do it.
Think about what you've done since Friday.
Exactly. You
drop down to 9.
Trade for it.
Yep. You drop down to 9. Picked up a 24 first, a 25 second, and you picked up DJ Moore. You go out and you sign Nate Davis, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards so far.
And you ain't done yet.
Yeah, and we're not done yet.
But guys, we got to think about it. Like in the division, the Minnesota Vikings have released all their defenders and just signed a blocking tight end for $8 million a season. So obviously, we're way behind everybody else in the division right now.
The Packers just gave their return man $6 million.
So I mean, other than that, it's really amazing.
Speaking of the Packers, did the Jets go dark? Is that the truth?
Everybody's gone dark. Nobody. Multiple times the trade has been reported as done, and then it's been walked back.
Well,
time.
the only thing that makes me wonder, Rasul Douglas just tweeted out a picture in black and white of him and Aaron Rodgers walking in the tunnel like a goodbye, and you go over to the other side of the fence with the Jets players, and they're having a fucking party. So it seems like people know.
Like they're going in the darkness together.
But I think the decision really comes to Aaron if he wants to retire. I think that's really it, because he can't go back to Green Bay. They have burned that bridge. I from every report I've heard, they've sort of agreed. They're just waiting for Aaron Rodgers, who said, by the way, he wanted this to be done before free agency. They're just waiting for him to say, trade me or I'm done.
I'm loving the reality of how you build the franchise by Ryan Poles. That's what I wanted to see. Obviously, I don't think we're on the brand, but I'm keeping it 100. You all have heard, take over the North and never give it back. That's the goal here. And this is how you have to build it, in the middle. And I know we didn't get Hargrave. That was the one guy that I really wanted. Everything else is kind of going in a manner with which you thought. Hopefully they're in negotiations with Orlando Brown, and I think that you connected the dots on the best wide receiver that you can get. He would have been the best receiver in free agency. That you get the best middle linebacker, and then you get the best offensive tackle. And now we're cooking with gas there. I know I really like Nate Davis, but we'll see where this goes. I know when I came on, moving Tevin Jenkins should not be off the the table and put him back out at side at right tackle or left tackle, wherever you want it. But right now, you have to look at what the value is in the Eberflus scheme wasn't there because you had a terrible defensive line and the backers weren't good. Now you've cut that down. What's going on with Draymond Jones and Orlando Brown? We'll see. That's all I could say. I mean, these agents are working the phones. I could tell you that
everybody's
right now.
milking every dollar right now.
Oh, yeah.
And Draymond's value's gone up. Supposedly Cleveland remains the front runner for him. But you know, I just think in the end, if you look at both rosters, both Cleveland and Chicago, if you're smart and winning matters to you and the money can be the same either way, I don't know how you choose Cleveland over Chicago because of his restructure. Deshaun Watson, after this season, the next 3 years, his salary is going to be $64 million a season. That's not a typo. It's not a misrepresentation. He went from 52 a season to 64 to save them $36 million more. They are tapped out for all they have. If you go to Cleveland, you don't value winning. That's my take. And Mike, I totally agree with you that you can't let Cleveland beat you, but that's where he's from.
Yeah,
that's where it matters. And he's talked about playing with Myles Garrett. A lot of that factors in, but it is. I don't know how you look at what Chicago has done and not go, holy shit, because this is where you want to be if you want to win in the near future. Well,
you look at how do you build around Justin? You got to build the lines. And I always say it's a team sport. So when people were analyzing, and even for me, it was very difficult because the defense on the Chicago Bears was so bad. So it never gave you an appropriate balance for you to say, okay, they stopped them in a 3-and-out and Justin's back on the field. Let's see what you do now, Justin. It was always these transfers of who's going to let you down the most, the Bears O-line or the Bears defense. That's really what happened. And then you could throw a wide receiver drop in there. So,
but they wanted both sides tried their best to hurt you the most, right? Like it was a competition to see which group would let you down. Like, guys, they just almost scored. We got to make sure in 3 plays the opposing team scores. Like that's what we need to do.
Yeah, and Roger's right. When you look at this draft, offensive line and defensive line, to me, is the strength of this draft. And I'll stick to that. I like what I see. I know I can get some receivers later in the draft, and the Bears have accumulated some picks. But offensive and defensive line have to be a priority, and that's how you're setting the stage, the bar up here. If they miss out on the tackle, they are going to obviously be the focal point of your draft. And I don't think you want to make yourself such a known. So
they're early enough where it's not an issue. If you're 15 or later, yeah, I worry about that. But 9, when you go 4 quarterbacks, Will Anderson, there's your 5. You know that there's going to be space for it. But so normally I would totally agree with you, but they're in a position where they can sort of do that. If they were much later in the draft, you can't do that.
Yeah, if you just run through that real quick, Cars, like you said, the 4, Will Anderson, I think you got to throw Tyree Wilson in there.
And then I think Christian Gonzalez is going in that group as well. So that's your first 7 guys that are there. So I think you're getting at that point, Paris is in play, Broderick is in play, Skoronski's in play. There's everybody on that line. And if you fall back a little bit, you're starting to talk about a guy I love, Darnell Wright, is in play. There are a lot of tackles in this draft that are going to be upgrades regardless. So maybe that's what you do, and you know that you can get better that way. I'm more concerned right now about the defensive line than any other position, just because of how barren it is. It is a zero-sum game right now.
But to the point, that's a deep position in the draft.
Yes.
In the draft.
So that's yeah.
Mhm.
I don't love waiting for the draft. That's why I said even though they've spent a lot of money, I'm spending
There's still
even
two
more.
more moves. There's two more moves minimum.
Yep.
And your biggest thing is if you catch wind or start hearing about a restructure right now from any player, that lets you know additional things are coming. So if all of a sudden we see DJ Moore has restructured or Eddie has restructured or they've released Cody Whitehair, that tells you that these are the signs that you want to look for, that a bigger move is coming because they want to clear the cap space to do that. So keep your eyes open for that sort of news for the rest of the day.
I'm surprised how high some people have Edwards ranked versus Edmonds. It's funny to me. I'm just getting some text from some guys that, have Edwards ranked so much higher than Edmonds. Well, the Bears got both of them. They obviously, money tells me
they have
Edmonds
TJ
ranked.
Edwards ranked higher than Tremaine Edmonds.
Yes,
They must be confused.
Yes,
and there was a PFF rating. There was a PFF rating that had Edwards as number 2. It had Edmonds as 11, and it had Roquan at 24. And I can't remember what it was, but that was one of the ones.
Yeah,
I have a higher grade on the offensive tackle McGrary than I did on McGlinchey. So that's how high I would have been pissed off if we got McGlinchey. And that's not hindsight. That's just my truth. So
that fifth year made me throw up in my mouth. That was
terrible.
Criminal by the Denver Broncos. Absolutely.
That gave me pause because I know the Bears were in contact with them. Based on all of the people that reached out to me. I mean, last night before going to bed, Shane gave me that same vibe of Mike Glennon. Like, well, we're going to have to get used to it. I go, oh, I'm going to have a lot of fun on the Tape Never Lies this year.
Yeah, but I think I think it was probably one of those things that it was a done deal. And then Denver, it happens in free agency. You want a guy.
It happened. That's what I'm saying.
They went to that. Oh, I agree. Well, put it this way. They're probably not making this. Oh, maybe they are, but yeah. I mean, if Mike McGlinchey would have had you lose out on spending this type of money on Tremaine Edmonds, I would have been sick to my stomach.
I'm sorry. What you just showed up made me laugh hysterically that Sam Darnold is now
a Niner.
49er. That absolutely would tell you that is Brock Purdy's job and they don't believe in Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How brutal is that?
If you were a patron, you would have saw Draft Mob's take on Trey Lance. Just concerns all about. And I'm sure, I mean, try not to be the smartest person or try to be the smartest person. Stop trying when you're not. That's sometimes these GMs, for everything they get the glory. And it's granted, it's a pressure position. It's a hard job. You got to go with your gut sometimes, but I couldn't believe when they took Trey Lance there. But
I would have understood it where we were or in the back, past 15.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense. But holy shit.
But it just
showed it up.
You're just like
as well.
It just shows you how two people can look at the same tape, the same exact plays, and come away with two completely different sets of analysis. We had Austin Carter Samuels on here with us multiple times. Zach Wilson was his guy, and he didn't think, he thought it was like him and everybody else. There was such a big difference. And I wouldn't have taken Zach Wilson in the first round, and we all were in concert on that.
Yeah, we in
Right.
Waldman all laughed about that. Listen, one of the things I will forever laugh about is when Lynch said they went to go watch Justin Fields' pro day, and when they left there, they got on the plane that Kyle Shanahan was already diagramming plays for Trey Lance. Like that, for an offensive guru, great mind. That is the way that went. I love it. It is. Sometimes these guys get too cute. I call it the Mickey Loomis, where you get too cute and you make stupid decisions and you keep compounding those stupid decisions over and over. And it's such a mess. It's such a mess.
It is a mess. The Chicago Bears, though, have started building their 2023 franchise. They have signed linebacker TJ Edwards of the Philadelphia Eagles, former Wisconsin teammate of Jack Sanborn, and a kid from Illinois who is a Bears fan. Him and Sanborn together again. I guess Sanborn's coach also coached TJ as well. There's some connection between the two high school coaches. So there's a story there as well. This kind of is funny how it comes together that these two guys will be competing on the football field. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sanborn is a guy that a lot of fans love. I believe you saw what he did on special teams, and then you saw him get on the football field. Yep. And you're always going to be better. And again, the Bears in their base scheme are going to play Sam, Mike, and Will. And Sanborn is going to have something to say about playing time. And that's a good thing for the Bears. Go ahead, Ivan. You were going to say something.
Yeah, no, just the we had talked about it a little bit before. Just the fact that they are Bears fans, like that's. I mean, I don't think I could question the amount of love they have for actually doing what they're doing as Bears fans. I know me, if I was a Bears fan, I'd be ecstatic, like all out. If I was playing for the Chicago Bears, every single game would be my last game on the field. So I think what Ryan Poles did was identified something that probably isn't going to come up in a lot of players, but talking to a guy like an Edwards, that he loves the game because he loves that he's going to go play for the Chicago Bears. Jack Sanborn the same way. They wanted to identify players that love the game of football and they're going to go ahead and go out there every single day and give it their all. And I think they did that today.
That's a great point, and I think that's it. And just to peel back real quick, when you talk about Sanborn, the third linebacker was on the field about 35-37% of the time last season. So Sanborn is still going to see a good, healthy amount of snaps. So I'm not going to worry about that either.
Is Jedi? Is this? You're not the number one Sanborn fan. That's
Logan Frost.
Logan Frost.
Is this Logan Frost in disguise? Is this your
Did you get did you make a Sanborn jersey? Authentic? I don't think so.
Who is Logan Frost? I don't understand. Who's that guy?
Many people ask that question. The Bears also get guard Nate Davis, as you can see, scrolling the bottom of the screen. Now you get an interior piece ranked up in the top 20s of the available free agent signings. Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham identifying that you're needing to improve this offensive line's interior as well as exterior. So here they go. I love the Nate Davis. If you just maybe tuned in, Cars, I'm finding out you're the president of the Nate Davis fan club. But also I think Luke Steckel has to be a part of that, who has come over here and is a part of the offensive line coaching, whatever his title is going to be. So listen, the Chicago Bears early on in free agency, again, it hasn't even officially started. Who was the linebacker who signed with the Jets for the Vikings and then he went back to the Vikings last second?
Barr
from UCLA.
Anthony Barr.
Anthony Barr had a huge deal with the Jets, all worked out, agreed upon. Jets fans celebrate. goes back to the Vikings. None of this is official until it's official, but I would say 90% of the time it is. And you see where it is with the Bears right now. Edwards, Davis, and Edmonds.
And right now, I'd like to send a special shout out to the Minnesota Vikings ownership who refused to let Ryan Poles tear down the roster last year. And that is part of what helped push him over to us. And that now they're allowing Kwesi to do this so he can sign blocking linebackers for $8 million a season. Thank you, Minnesota. You guys are
Tight
morons.
ends.
We really appreciate it. Blocking tight ends for $8 million. Yeah, it's perfect. It's a win-win.
Who was the tight end they signed? I didn't hear.
I forget the guy's name.
$8 million straight out.
It's like 3 years, $21 million with money guaranteed. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right
Jeez.
now. Again. Tight end Josh
Oliver.
Yeah.
Oh,
3 years, 20,
Oliver.
3 years, $21 million, gets 10.75 guaranteed.
It's a big win for us for a blocking linebacker so that they continue to look out Dalvin Cook.
It can push up to $24 million.
Yeah.
With the incentives. Yeah.
It's a good day. It's a really good day.
Cars was Jasper Horsted's #1 fan, Sander. I don't think you've ever hidden from this. I thought Horsted got a raw deal here. I was hoping to see what he could have brought to the table.
Jasper's one of those guys that's like telling his blow up doll, watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these guys. Check it out. You guys were hyping up Horsted.
Listen, the book is not written on Jesper Horsted. No one's going to belittle football Jesus while I'm here, okay? He is still coming. This is still going to be a thing. He may be like 48 years old before that breakout happens, but that was a mistake on my part. Absolutely. I fall in love with third tight ends like you can't believe.
Listen, I love the guy too. I will be on the record of saying I would have liked to have seen what he was going to be able to do. But again, sometimes a new GM comes in here and certain things go a certain way. I know he's made some plays with the Raiders. Isn't that where he's at? Vegas now?
He got cut. Cut, though. I think that's the concern there is his is done. Next up is who's that kid we drafted from Iowa State at tight end? Chase Allen. That'll be my next
Allen.
That'll be my next third tight end crush. That will also.
Could we see a tight end signing? Could we see a tight end signing?
I still think it's on the board. Schultz or Gesicki, because they're sort of different guys, I think are good additions. And with the market, one of the things we should probably focus on is Atlanta is probably done shopping for now with the money that they've thrown around to those guys. There's still not a ton of money out there. So you could start to pick some of these guys up a little cheaper. What may help us with Orlando Brown. There's not a lot of teams out there after the signings that can really afford to fit him in space. So if all of a sudden you can get Gesicki or Schultz on a 1-year deal with some incentives to go up to double digits, I think that's where the Bears are after this initial rush is completed.
What about an Austin Hooper who has some experience with Steckel? Does he do anything for you?
He doesn't for me.
No, he used to, but he has really fallen off.
Yeah.
It's more than 1 year that he's.
I think Waldman brought up a good name too in Moreau.
Foster Moreau is another good name.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's another guy.
Then beyond that, you're looking at it, you're looking into the draft. But I mean, if you're talking about Kincaid or Mayer, I don't think, you're dropping from 9 all the way down to, what are we, 53 or 54? Yeah. I don't expect either of those guys probably realistically to be around there. I know stranger things have happened. That's why I think, depending on how their board falls, I think number 9 is absolutely in play. Don't forget, the Bears, another thing that you have to think about, the Bears went, yes, it was for a quarterback, but We went from number 20 to number 11, and we had to give up a future first-round draft pick with the Giants.
So if a quarterback
That's true.
slips and sits at 9, right?
Yep.
All of a sudden, you can be looking at the Washington Commanders. You could be looking at Tampa Bay. You could be looking at
Will
a few
Levis
different teams. Yes,
sitting there,
exactly.
or the kid, what's his name, from Florida?
Richardson.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Totally.
There could be additional moves. And when you start looking at that, there's a lot of Shane, and I know Phil, you kind of agree with this as well. Anything that we can do where if I get another pick and if I stay in the first, but I add a higher level second to kind of bridge that gap between my late run, that is a win for us. That is the strength of this draft, is once you start getting 20 to 50 to 60 to 70, that's where more of the value lines up with the players. So anything you could do to maximize the window of players that you're in where it's great value, that's what they have to do. That's what Philly does. That's what teams that do through the draft. And that's a win.
So, Richard, can they get a good tight end? Absolutely. Daniel Jeremiah was talking about specifically this, and I mean, this is his job. He feels like all the way into round 5, people are going to be able to draft not just tight ends, but tight ends that will come in and will start in the NFL all the way into round 5. That's how ridiculously deep that position is. So
let me ask you, based on that, because I think like a home run signing today would be getting Schultz for your offense. Like that would be one of the more underrated.
But the way that you have to look at it,
would you rather him or draft one? That's what.
Well,
that's what I wanted to ask you.
If you have to allocate that money to somebody else. So is it going towards,
so do you
bringing Draymond here? Now, if you told me that I could secure
Jones or
a Draymond Jones, and then we'd have to pivot and go to the tight end in the draft, I would much rather wait on the tight end than I would the 3-tech. That's me, because I'm buying a 3-tech.
No, I agree,
and I'm drafting one.
Agreed. I'm looking. I think a tight end that they're going to be looking to add is the kid from Iowa. That kid is someone that Laporta. Yeah. Thank you. That is a kid that
surprised me in the combine because his tape, obviously, the quarterback's play at Iowa was horrible.
Just
hard
terrible.
to get a grip on him. So, yeah, he in drills just showed another level of smooth athlete that I just didn't see. Again, the Iowa boys, I call them. They were probably the most impressive in the combine. And I love their tape, too. And I include my guy, Riley Moss, the corner in that, too.
Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough, and I think is very, very important. This is from Buffalo Bills player Daquan Jones, tweeting out to Tremaine Edmonds, "Appreciate all your leadership on and off the field." That's and he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
That says a lot
for a bit. Yeah. And it's not just a last year thing. He's been a leader almost since day one. It's just who he's been.
He's got a brother in the NFL as well, correct?
Chase is running back.
No.
Or who are you talking about?
Oh, Edmonds? Yeah, he's got his brother who's a safety for the Steelers.
Or safety. My bad. I'm thinking
he's a free agent as well.
My bad, yeah.
Isn't he?
Right. Yes, I think so.
Bring his brother over here too. Get the fucking
Isn't there an Edmonds running back also?
Chase
Probably.
Edmonds.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, guys, I got to drop here.
Yeah, I think
you guys got it. Good to see you. Hopefully, we've got one more, and I'll see you at 2 a.m. when we do.
Yeah,
I'll see you at 2 a.m. when we do the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll
Cars, wake up. We signed a punter.
Orlando Brown is the Chicago Bear. We're going live at 2 a.m. If you're not signed up for Patreon, I know there's a lot of patrons in there, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say it during this show because talking a lot of ball here and a lot of stuff. getting you ready for the Chicago Bears. New era in Chicago Bears football. Go over to the tapeneverlies.com and sign up. Become a patron. I'm going to be breaking down with the boys the tape of Edwards, Edmonds, and every free agent that we sign. Davis. I got a lot of cutting to do. I know. Where did Ivan go? He just bounced.
He had to go to
He
work.
was supposed to. Oh, okay. He's going to work.
Shane,
real quick, are there any of these backup quarterbacks left? I know Sam Darnold.
I'm all. Listen, don't forget that they signed Simeon to a 2-year deal.
Oh, so Simeon's still on the roster.
Yes.
Okay.
So that makes me pivot to the draft, and I'm 100% drafting a quarterback, not early, and it doesn't have anything to do with my faith in Justin Fields. I say it every year. Got to bring in a young guy. Got to get him in here to develop, and I think it's probably it's very different this year because stylistically there's guys that are similar to Justin Fields when you get down into the lower rounds. But if you told me that they could bring in a Stetson Bennett in round 5, I would have no issue with that. Aiden O'Connell, I'm a huge fan from Purdue. Stylistically, they're different than Justin. Got to get a young guy in the pipeline. Got to.
I totally agree with you. And I think that's the best way to proceed in free agency based on Simeon still in the quarterback room. So you're right on that. So I was looking at Brissett. I'm a big fan of Jacoby, but based on the situation and the needs,
you can't get into paying money like that for what he's going to command on the. You can't. It doesn't make any sense.
Kid from UCLA, definitely. Yep. I believe that kid's a great, and we're going to break down these quarterbacks in the draft as well on our Draft Mob series, also on Patreon. So every free agent the Bears sign, we're going to go to the tape. We're going to have a show. You'll be known, or you could watch it on delay later on, whenever you want, where we live break down the tape, sometimes with guests, sometimes me, Shane, and my dad. Sometimes it'll be just me and my dad. Whatever it is, we'll be breaking down the tape of the free agent signings and how they're going to help the Chicago Bears. We talk football here, and we're watching how they break this free agency chart down. And what I mean by that is how they're attacking it based on the money and based on the future pillars of the franchise. Right now, clearly they believe in Tremaine being the face of the franchise on defense. And I think that's important that people understand that. I'm a big believer in that kid, and I think that you're going to get someone. I think he'll play Mike based on where that drop is in that, but am I going to shy away? I also think he could rush the passer and play Will linebacker as well. And I also think Edwards could play the Will linebacker. I believe he's that stack and steady when it goes to – I just can't wait to take to the tape for some of these guys so you can see the difference. It's been a anxiety-driven watching the Bears defense on tape and watching it, the linebacker play and the defensive line play. And it's just not been fun. Now you're going to get to some fun here. Smash the like button, just like Brian Butler's saying. The UCLA quarterback. Yes. I want to take your questions. Dorian Thompson Robinson is his name. I'm a big fan of him. I think that would be a great fit. I also believe in Stetson Bennett. That would be a great fit for the Chicago Bears to put him in there. Again, Shane, we talked about getting dogs. Edwards, Edmonds, and Davis all have that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and
DJ Moore.
When Cars and I were talking about it before you got here, Cars was a little more on the lines of maybe the Bears are worried about the injuries with Tevin, but to me, Ryan Poles singled him out as being a surprise the way that he adjusted to guard, because he said while we were in Kansas City, we didn't think he had that ability to play guard. So what does that tell you there? That tells you that they graded him as a tackle and they saw him as a tackle. So the need probably drove that for them there. And listen, they know they're offensive line guys. If they can push him outside, Phil, I talked about it. It's like being in a phone booth and everything is twice as fast on the inside when you're at guard versus tackle.
I've always said it. The value.
They said that they're in. Yeah. They said they're involved.
The value is the. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, let's be honest. They have faith in Braxton Jones. You can agree with it, disagree with it. They do. So I said to Cars, my point was, if it's Braxton Jones with an off season in the strength and conditioning program, then at left guard, you bring in Ciamolu. Center is a question mark. Right guard, Nate Davis. Right tackle, Tevin Jenkins. That's a hell of a fucking start for me, Phil. It really is.
I agree. And I just want to take, because you're 100% right. That's a great start. I love the centers in the draft. I believe there's 5 starting centers in the draft. So they could be saying the same thing. I believe in Dieter Eisland. If he gets a shot, I want to see what he is. I thought that was one of the disappointing things with Chris Morgan at the end of the year. Not get him out there and let's see a game of him at center. It's a drop ball, in my opinion. But anyway, to Shane's point, philosophically,
wrap it up here because I got to bounce. Yeah,
I could wrap it up if you got to blow.
No, go ahead. Just wrap it up here.
I think when you play inside, it's so much more difficult to play guard in the NFL, to switch there and now get used to 2 bodies and double team and kiss block. Whereas when you're outside, you're dealing with a lot of one-on-one scoops. It's much more difficult inside. That doesn't take away the value. What the skill set needs to be had on the outside is the reason why it's more of a priority, because you got to protect the edge. So I don't want to confuse you when you're like, Phil, you say it's so much difficult to play inside.
Yeah.
When you're playing outside and you're used to one-on-one situations and Tevin can dominate that.
Well, right. Just Sanders is trying to prove a point, but he's been wrong all day, so he's going to be wrong again here. You can flip-flop Tevin because he wants to be a tackle. That's what he wants. He wants to be a tackle. Part of the reason that you had the issues last year is because he was pissed off because he didn't want to be a guard.
And one thing I really thought about over the last month, how much of that with the Bears was testing Tevin's team priority? Like, are you a part of the team?
A lot of it, Phil, because his fucking college coach came out and said that. He was a kid that needed to be tested. You had to stay on top of him all the time. Hopefully he passed the test, but he didn't stay healthy.
He must have passed the test. He passed because he went inside and he fucking balled out and he showed you he can do it. So now you put him at right tackle. To your point, now you're cooking with gas right there. You're cooking with gas. Are they still in on Ciamolu?
I haven't heard any updates on that. That was early that they were involved. They may be out since Davis. I have no confirmation or no update on that, but we'll see.
Well, I'm going to tune into Neo Scholar's show and watch where he's going to direct his show. I love Guy. Controlling the conversation is not your job.
Aaron Wilson is reporting that the Bears have interest in veteran center Jake Brendel.
Yeah, that kid's a good football player. Brendel. Where is he on my list? My Excel sheet, Shane. You'd be proud of me.
Nice.
Brindle. You had Ethan posted. Let me show you the centers that are out here. And they're way down on the list. That's why I think you get a veteran in here. You don't put all your Easter eggs with Lucas Patrick, Ethan Posick, Garrett Bradbury, Brindle.
Signed. He's re-signed, and
did he?
He went. Yeah, I believe he re-signed in Cleveland.
Bradley Bozeman is another good center, and Connor McGovern. He ended up signing where? He went somewhere, right?
Buffalo.
Buffalo. So the center market. Listen, you get a Brindle in here. It's a nice pick up as a veteran. He's not going to stop me from drafting a guy. He's not. But I don't agree. I agree with you. Move if you can't.
Everybody say goodbye to Sanders. See ya. This is the part of the show where I call your mother a cunt and you go bye-bye. Sorry,
Sanders. Ben Jones. If the doctors tell me that he's good, yeah, I would love Ben Jones. I still remember the scene way back when the coach is walking off the field and he's in tears hugging Ben Jones. Ben Jones is a dog. He's a pro's pro. If he's checked out, but he's one of those guys that if you're built your line, you bring him in and he's stupendous. But he also is a good teacher as well. It's the doctors that would concern me there. His medical.
I think that they're looking for veteran help, but they drafted a kid last year too. Both of these guys were here.
Doug Kramer.
When Doug Kramer was drafted. So let's see. And let's not forget when Lucas Patrick went down in training camp, the first person up was Doug Kramer. Not too many people talk about that.
Shane, real quick, would you ever take the running back from Texas
at 9?
Robinson at 9?
No, I would not.
Neither would I. I just want to check in.
Yep. I could be
We're going to be breaking down Isaiah Foskey on Draft Mob.
Yeah.
And we'll tell you exactly how we feel about him with the tape. And again, there's going to be some cuts too that are going to be made that could fit, and the Bears are keen on and know. That's another part of free agency, especially when you got a lot of cap space. And what did you call it? A cap floor that you got to spend. Cash.
So here's a guy that I had brought up that I knew, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Former Eagles offensive tackle Andre Dillard, former first-round draft pick, expected to sign a deal with the Tennessee Titans, according to Rap Sheet and Mike Garafolo.
There you go, Dillard. You'll see he's off the board. The Bears hopefully are in conversations. I believe they are with Orlando Brown. And we'll see how that plays itself out. We'll see how it plays itself out. The market could be what it is, and thus you get an Orlando Brown, or is there a possible trade for Laramie Tunsil in the works? If not, you're looking at the draft where I love some of these tackles. I love some Ace Daniels. Haven't seen this guy in years. Is that the Ace Daniels we knew? I had him over McGlinchey. I would rather have McGarry from the Falcons than I would McGlinchey. So there's your answer to that. I think that would be a good pickup. Charles Leno was not on the board because he got signed. He got signed. So I can't even get Charles back. Shane loves Darnell Wright, right? Or was that Cars that was big on Darnell?
Yeah. Darnell I mean, I like him, but I think it was Cars that was very high on him. Yeah.
Listen, the kid can play football. Darnell is a right tackle to me, and a damn good one at that. I think he's going to be a great starter. Again, sign up, become a patron. We'll break down Darnell Wright. We'll break down Jones, St. Paul, all of these guys in regards to the Chicago Bears and their draft. And right now, we're only 5-6 hours into free agency. This isn't done. I know I saw Chubbs in here earlier waving a white flag like the Bear Poles blew it.
Oh, he didn't. Yeah, he said that Poles was getting his ass kicked in free agency. So, but that's
I just don't see that.
That's fine.
Darnell Wright, I get it. I'm a big fan too. I'm a big fan of Darnell. The Tennessee, whoever coaches the Tennessee O-line, I'm a fan of him because they have some really good technique. And obviously, Alabama. I don't know what happened to. What was his story at Alabama? I know you've talked about it before.
Sanders?
Big man. No, our guy. Why did I just draw a blank on him? 72. We picked him up for the Raiders. Leatherwood.
He's always been a body beautiful guy. If you were making an offensive lineman, you would have him look like Alex Leatherwood with those very, very long arms. Every God-given ability he has, he just never. He was always the talented kid that didn't want to put in the work. And when you're playing for Nick Saban, I mean, I've seen practices and some of the things. I mean, I learned a couple new words from Nick Saban screaming at Leatherwood, believe me. And I know a lot of words, but he's one of those guys that you're like, can you just go a little bit? Can you just show me, go a little bit harder, a little bit. He could, if he had that in him, he would be a lot better. I know you're not a basketball fan, but I look at like Patrick Williams for the Bulls. One of the biggest things that people are always screaming is just play harder. Just, be a little bit more aggressive. Show some aggressiveness.
Yeah.
And they just have that laid back attitude, and they're flatlined. If they drive home from work and their house is on fire, they're like, fuck, that sucks. Where most people would be flipping out and going nuts. They're flatlined.
The Bears, you fans should not be flatlined. If I'm feeling good about this and it's only 5 hours into the tampering period, this isn't even the official signing stuff. I'll be nervous until Tremaine Edmonds is signed. That's how I am. Ask Shane.
Yeah. I don't think we have any problem with that, with the guaranteed money that they gave him.
Smash the like button, become a patron. I guarantee you're going to enjoy the stuff that we're going to be breaking down thoroughly, free agency and preparing you for the draft. The Bears have struck early on. Again, they're going to be negotiating up into the wee hours. We might have to go live again. I don't know, but this isn't over yet. So don't.
If we're going to, I'm going to have to get out of here.
Flag from DQ. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah. The only one negative so far with the Tremaine Edmonds signing, not a big fan of number 49. So hopefully he switches that.
I'm with you there.
Not a fan of 49.
So agree with
You're going to go with a number in the 40s.
39 and 49.
Yeah. If you're going to go with a number in the 40s, take 44. That's always a dope. I like that one, but yeah, I'm not a fan of 49 at linebacker, but I'm assuming that's what he'll take.
Yeah. What if he wears number 54? Can we allow it?
They would never let that happen.
Why?
Yeah.
It's not retired.
If he's the next
he's
the next Will, they might make him 55 to be Lance Briggs, the next Lance Briggs, right?
I believe he's a Mike. What does Maisie say?
I'm going to tell everybody in school, if you want to see my dad on YouTube, to say on it TTNL Bears.
What does the TTNL stand for?
The tape never lies.
I love how
She sold it.
hangs on
Tape never
lies.
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 Talks just
She
like her
also
dad.
said this-
Go shit in the hat.
Yes.
Going to tell you shit in your hat and get the hell off the field.
I never
That's
knew
right.
that Coach O and Maisie were going head to head. Like, you shit in the hat, Coach. No, you shit in the hat, Maisie.
Oh, you gotta love it. We're gonna be breaking this all down. Stay in touch, Chubbs. Keep your white flag flying for Greg Braggs. I hope maybe he will wear number 59. Rosie Colvin.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm sure Shane will have it first, but we'll be back if anything breaks. For Shane Marsaw, the smartest man. Cars was here, Ivan was here, and everybody. I'm your guy, Draft Dr. Phil. The tape never lies. Smash the like button. Let everybody know. Do me a favor and do that, or take 20 laps with Chubbs.